There's no doubt that royal families have been specifically known for following their customs and traditions for a long time. But did you know that beyond the high peaks of mountains, the king of Bhutan heroically turned his love at first sight into a real-life fairy tale love story and chose to break his centuries-old traditions for his wife? Well, what do you think? What are these traditions, and why does their love story make the world have tears of joy? To put an end to your curiosity, stay stuck till the end of this video because we'll explore how this best royal affair decided to blend the traditional practices of their country with their modern goals. But before we continue, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for all the exciting updates. Located at the southern end of the eastern Himalayas, the Kingdom of Bhutan is a small mountainous country. Unlike the civilization of its surrounding countries, Bhutan used to be a very private country that didn't communicate with the outside world even with the fast-rising technology. Nestled between the towns of India and China, Bhutan is also named the Land of Thunder Dragon. The country has a population of fewer than 1 million people. Although there are no existing records, the glimmers of stone tools, weapons, elephants, and remnants of large stone structures highlight its fascinating past and prove that the small kingdom of Bhutan was inhabited as early as 2000 BC. Bhutan, which has never been colonized, remained in self-imposed isolation for centuries, wary of outside influence and the impact of globalization. Back in the 20th century, Bhutan was still in its middle-aged era as there were no automobiles, telephones, or anything to make life easy for its people until the 1960s, when it slightly opened its door to the outside world. The country banned television until 1999 and continues to restrict the number of tourists who visit its stunning mountains and valleys with rules ensuring minimum spending of up to $200 a day. Although the economy of Bhutan is underdeveloped, Bhutan is the only country that measures happiness and is ranked one of the happiest countries in the world due to fulfilling the non-materialistic lives of its residents. And this is only because the country's gross national happiness index measures personal happiness instead of its economic growth. Bhutan is a land of traditional landscapes. People living in Bhutan value their cultural heritage and are known for perfectly following their traditions and customs. But with television and the internet now widely available and foreign education more common, young Bhutanese are increasingly turning their backs on some of the more unusual parts of the local culture. So, as things have now changed, even the royal families living in Bhutan don't bother to follow them. Let's now take a look at which of the royal families chose to break the traditions that had been around for centuries and what these traditions are. The fourth king of Bhutan, Jigme Khesar, father of the present king, married 4 women at once in 1979, and the surprising fact of this marriage is that they all are sisters. This marriage was accepted as valid under both state and religious law, and this is what is known as Bhutan's rare form of polygamy, in which men or women take several sisters or brothers as partners, has been followed by many royal families for many years. As per the regulations of this tradition, a man automatically marries a woman's sister with whom he decides to tie the knot. The practice has its roots in traditional Bhutanese social structures, explained Françoise Pommeret, an expert and author on Bhutan. Living with several sisters, mostly found in the center or the east, or with several brothers, mostly found in the north, allowed them to keep the property in one family, she said. 5 sons and 5 daughters were born to the king, Jigme Khesar, and 4 wives, totaling 10 children. But one of his sons, Jigme Khesar, was against this custom and proved his words by marrying the only love of his life, Jetsun Pema, thus breaking the country's centuries-old tradition. Well, wouldn't you love to have a glimpse of the love story of this stunning royal couple, whom the world calls Kate and William of the East? Let's now take a look at how it all started. The enviable love story of this youngest and most beautiful king of Bhutan was initiated with a glimpse of it many years ago. After several years of knowing each other, the king married a wife 10 years younger than himself. Isn't this exactly what the fairy tale looks like? Prince Charming waiting for his beloved girl to grow up, and then announcing his loyalty to the world with a grand castle wedding? The Bhutanese royal family has always attached great importance to the elite education of its children, and this is why they have been trained in strict aristocratic etiquette from an early age. Almost all of the 10 children of the 4th king had gone to Western countries to study, and Khesar, as the eldest son, was no exception. Khesar, who had high hopes from his father, studied at Boston University in the United States and Oxford University in the United Kingdom and completed his studies with excellent results. Bathed in the unrestrained breath of the West for a long time, the young prince also developed a free-spirited nature and longed for an independent state of life. This is why he was dismissive of the many dull and cumbersome habits of the royal family and nobles. In 2004, King Singh Wangchuk, the 4th king of the Kingdom of Bhutan, announced the declaration of succession in advance, and 2 years later, in 2006, through a grand coronation coronation ceremony, the crown of kingship was personally worn on Khesar's head. At this point, the young and promising Khesar not only became the youngest king in the history of Bhutan, but he was also crowned as the most handsome king in the world by his outstanding and handsome appearance. After ascending the throne, Khesar was not in a hurry to establish a queen. Perhaps he insisted on the importance of his family and country, or maybe because he was waiting for a girl he had seen as a teenager to grow up. Khesar and Queen Jigme Khesar's 10,000 years at a glance began many years ago. At that time, Khesar was not yet the king of Bhutan, and the young prince, who was only 17 years old, went to a banquet with his father. Pema, a 7-year-old girl, was also invited to attend the banquet. Khesar was accustomed to seeing dignified aristocratic women in the day, and Pema's innocent appearance made the young prince's eyes light up. Perhaps Pema did not know what liking was, but her intelligence and beauty, and this precious innocence, really won the love of the young prince. Khesar carefully took the rose in Pema's hand, leaned down to look at the ignorant girl, and asked if she would marry him. Although the young Pema may not know what the words of the future king of Bhutan mean, she immediately nodded solemnly in response. Khesar laughed and promised that, when Pema grew up, he would keep his promise and marry her as his wife. This love story, which spans a gap of 10 years, starts to catch people off guard, but this fleeting glimpse binds Khesar and Pema's fate firmly together. Perhaps it was fate that Khesar married the little girl of that year after many years, and fulfilled the promise of his youth, a promise of marriage for a lifetime in a couple. On October 13, 2011, this unprecedented royal wedding took place in a castle at the foot of the Himalayas. The protagonist of the wedding was Khesar Wangchuck, the youngest king of the Kingdom of Bhutan. On this day, in the presence of many subjects, he married a wife 10 years younger than himself and promised to marry only one wife throughout his life. The king, 31-year-old Jigme Khesar Namgyel Wangchuck, married and crowned Jetsun Pema, the commoner daughter of an airline pilot, in a colorful Buddhist ceremony in the ancient capital of Punakha. In his speech announcing the nuptials, Wangchuck made clear that Pema would be his only wife, a distinct departure from his father, who married 4 sisters in 1979, all of whom were crowned queen in the same ceremony. This love affair, which they met at an early age, made the people of Bhutan full of curiosity, and the attraction to watch the royal wedding up close made everyone flock to it. The intimate kissing moment of Khesar and Pema at the wedding, captured by the guests present, became the best witness to the love story of the king and his wife. In the hearts of the Bhutanese people, the queen of the 5th king is beautiful and virtuous. She is always an optimistic and cheerful lady who often walks into the homes of ordinary people without any identity. Many versions of the world portrayed Pema as a commoner girl from a poor background and then outlined a fairy tale of the love between the prince and Cinderella. So this is how the 5th king of Bhutan went on to fulfill his promise to his beloved wife and chose to break the old customs of the country. Polygamy now exists only in small nomadic communities that live with their animals for most of the year high in the Himalayas. Let us know your thoughts on this tradition of Bhutan and how the promise of King Khesar turned out for you. Before you leave, make sure to give this video a thumbs up.